Welcome back to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for another installment of our great series here before the snap. If this is your first time tuning in, what exactly are you going to learn about today? We're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to have a career in or around the NFL. We know that there's all kinds of jobs out there if you want to work in sports, but today we're going to be focused on one specific one. We're going to look at the world of photography, which, as somebody who likes to kind of take pictures on the side, I'm super excited to learn about this career and all the cool things that go into our special guest job with his team today. If you tuned with us before, obviously you know you're in store for another excellent program. As always, my name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth Education and Leadership Manager here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, where it's our mission to honor the greatest of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. And those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty, all of which made our 378 Hall of Famers the best football players and minds that they could be, but also can make you a great student. It makes me a great employee of the Hall of Fame here and can truly make you a great employee of any organization that you end up with as well. Before we do get started, though, I have some special thank yous I'd like to pass out. First and foremost, we'd like to thank all of our teachers, educators, administrators, professors, anybody that sent this out to their students today and allowed them to tune in. We're super thankful and grateful for you. Secondly, we'd like to thank all the students. Students, this program is here for you. We talk about networking all the time on this program, and I'm sure your teachers and professors have talked about it as well. This is an opportunity for you to start your networking journey. Whether you want to be a photographer after you graduate college, or you want to work in sports, or maybe you want to work for our special guest team today, this gives you an opportunity to get your foot in the door. So, as always, in that live chat we have rolling on YouTube right now, go ahead and let us know your name and the school that you're watching from. We want to see how many great colleges and universities we have tuned in today. So, if you are watching up right now, go ahead in that chat, put your name and the school that you go to. Throughout the program today, we're also going to be taking questions from the students who are tuned in. So if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the live chat as well. The sooner you get your question in, the more of a chance that we are going to have to make it as part of the program. So as we do every week, let us know what school you're watching from and your name. And if you have a question, go ahead and submit that in there as well, and we'll be reminding you throughout the program today. So today, we are lucky and grateful to be joined by Gabe Christus, who has been with the Denver Broncos. Give me 1 second here. He's been with the Denver Broncos throughout his career. And obviously, I mentioned a little bit ahead of time here about that he is a photographer. So we're going to talk all about the world of photography today and everything that has to go with his career. And he's been the team photographer with the Denver Broncos since 2017. But this is the start of his third year as a full-time role. He got to start with the team as an intern to the former team photographer during the 2009 season, during which he actually earned an honorable mention in the Pro Football Hall of Fame photo contest, which is a cool tie-in because don't usually have a lot of tie-ins with our guests in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but there's one right there. He's covered 2 Super Bowls and a total, and I'm sure this is higher now, of 234 NFL games, including 9 playoff games. After graduating from Metro State in Denver in 2010, he was a staff photographer at Evergreen Newspapers and the Aurora Sentinel, in addition to freelancing for the Denver Broncos and ESPN. So, without further ado, Gabe, welcome to Before the Snap.
Thank you very much, Jay.
We're super excited to have you here today. I cannot wait to hear all about your career. So, we always start this out 10,000-foot view. What do you do on a day-to-day basis with your job, and what does a normal day look like for you working with the Denver Broncos?
Day to day, my job changes drastically from taking photos to editing photos to, you know, keeping track of all of our photos in our archive, making sure everything is correctly captioned and keyworded, but also working within all of the departments that help make a football team go. So, as a team photographer, I don't just take pictures of football. I'm also doing a lot of the marketing stuff. I'm covering community events. I am, working with our mascot, working with our partnerships, and even our stadium, covering concerts and events that the stadium puts on. So there's a lot more than just taking photos. It's a lot of even just networking within the organization, making sure that kind of everyone understands that I'm here, and I'm a service to be utilized basically for anyone within the organization.
Awesome, man. It's cool to think because, I'm just going to kind of think of the stereotypical, let's think of a team photographer at an NFL team. All right, they got the gray, the black, whatever vest it is on the sideline. They got this big camera. Sometimes they're carrying two or three, and they're snapping thousands of pictures of the game. Probably
Yep.
to a lot of our guests today and people who don't really know, the ins and outs of an NFL organization, that's very easy to think. So, can you speak a little bit on that? You talk a little about all the different things, but we joked before we came on air here today about talking a lot about being a photographer is just pointing and clicking. How hard is it to point your lens at something and click a button? Can you talk about what goes into your job? What goes into taking a photo? Is it really just you're looking at the field every play, you're snapping 10 to 15 photos, picking the best one and moving on? What goes into your job specifically on a game day, and what are some of the things you're looking for?
A lot of times we'll have some type of a storyline that's kind of in mind, going into a game, whether it's, we've got a rookie quarterback. So our first couple games, everything was kind of centered around the quarterback. Another thing is this year we just introduced new uniforms that hadn't been introduced in, I think it was 28 years, something like that. So we concentrated a lot of our focus on, making sure that we're getting really cool pictures of the uniforms, but not only photos of the uniforms, but also with new uniforms, we are basically replacing all of our old assets of photos of our current players in the older uniforms, which all of a sudden become not obsolete, but we can't use them for day-to-day purposes anymore. So with each game, we're building a new library of uh, photos of our current players in the newer uniforms and stuff that can be used immediately. So in that respects, that's something that kind of has a lot of planning going into game day. As far as just covering the game, yes, we're basically just pointing the camera at the action and taking photos, but there's a lot more that goes into it as far as where I'm situated in relation to the action and kind of what's happening. So I pay attention a lot to what's happening in the game. How our offense or defense plays will also dictate where I'm at on the field. If I think that our offense is going to go deep a lot more than maybe not, then I may be shooting a little bit further back from the line of scrimmage. Our defense this year has been fantastic, so I'm always behind the opposing offense. When our defense is out there trying to get any sacks or interceptions or big plays that comes that way. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of planning that goes into it, but at the same time, a lot of it is just kind of luck and things coming your way. We typically we shoot with at least myself and another photographer. At home, we try and have a few more photographers out there covering other stuff like sponsorship and game entertainment and cheerleaders and stuff like that. But um, if a play comes to my side of the field, hopefully I get it. If the play goes to the other side of the field, then hopefully our other photographer gets it. And it's just kind of a way to not guarantee that we're always going to get the best possible shot, but it ups our chances drastically. So.
No, it's great to hear that there's so much strategy that goes into it, and it's not just, all right, everybody go take a corner. Some staying on the sideline. Do your best. We'll see what we get at the end of the day. And so it is cool to hear that there's so much strategy that goes into that. One more question from me on my end here is, you talked about working with so many different departments, and you talk about the idea of having brand new uniforms, and all of a sudden your pictures from the last 5 to 10 years pretty much are out the window because you can't put a player out there in an old uniform on a graphic, on a poster, whatever it might be. So, going into the season, like let's talk about specifically like with the graphic design and the video side of things. Was there did you guys have a meeting and it says, hey, we at the graphic team, here's some photos we're looking for. So can you talk a little bit about how other departments work with you and how you work with other departments? And are there meetings to say, hey, we're looking for this specific type of image. Is there any way you can get one of those for us?
Yeah, that stuff that definitely does happen. A lot of it is just like we get as much as we can. Myself and Ben, the other photographer, we kind of have been doing this for a while, so we kind of know kind of what is needed. A lot of times that a lot of requests come in, or we have those meetings about what type of photos we need to get is kind of before media day, where we're doing, we're thinking of ideas of ways to shoot and things that'll either make the photos more interesting or make the photos more valuable throughout the organization as far as how they're going to get used and just getting as much use out of them as possible. So, talking with the designers, talking with, if we're doing something with partners on exactly how the photos will be used, will help dictate how we shoot and, just how we, kind of go about, just, yeah, making the photos and planning around that. As far as game day, like we're always looking for, generic photos of footballs and helmets, or we're also looking for, photos of players with their helmet off so you can actually see their face, because most of the stuff we get on field, they obviously have a helmet on, and it's harder to put a face to a player with their helmet on. So we're trying to, open up and kind of tell the entire story, not only of the team, but of the football players and who they are, and kind of introduce them to the public, because our photos are kind of what helps our fans get to know some of our players up close if they don't, you know, if the players aren't doing a lot of stuff outside of just playing football. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's a huge and important thing. And I'm glad we're talking about, what goes into, taking photos and, the whole process because, as we mentioned in your bio, we here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we have a photo contest. Every year, photographers can submit photos for this contest in so many different categories. And we actually honor all those, with an award, and they go on display here in our museum. So we thought, what better way that we're talking to a photographer, what better place to go into our museum than this our annual photo contest display. So I'm gonna send it out to Jerry Shockey, who's the director of youth education and leadership here at the Hall of Fame, in that display, and he's going to talk a little bit about where he's standing. So Jerry, take it away.
All right, thank you, Jake, and thank you, Gabriel. Appreciate your time here today, and to all the students that are tuned in from all across the country, universities all across the country. Make sure that you submit your questions. Make sure you state your school name so we can give a shout out where you're from and go some of those questions and interject those throughout the program here today. Well, we are just outside of the Game for Life Theater that focuses on, it's our holographic theater that focuses on our Hall of Fame values of commitment, courage, honesty, integrity, and respect. And this space right then where I'm at isn't necessarily dedicated to those values in the same way, though it is where we feature, as Jake alluded to, the Pro Football Hall of Fame annual photo contest. And this contest has been in place for 56 years and gives out the Dave Boss Award for Excellence. And it's really in two categories, in a feature and an action category. And you can see those behind me. You can see the action as well as the feature on the other side. If I kind of get out of the way here, let me get out of the way there we go. And last season, we had over 1,200 images that were reviewed across the two categories to reach the final decision on the winners. And so, Gabriel, my question to you is, what does a photographer have to do to win these types of awards? It's kind of a two-part, I guess. And what makes a great shot when you're taking photos? What's the strategy? What's the skill? What's sometimes just say luck sometimes as well?
Yeah, there's definitely luck involved, but it's not always luck. Um, as far as action, it's just really being at the right place at the right time, and you know performing when the action happens in front of you. A lot of it is, using the right lens, and also just being prepared for something coming either your direction or going away from you, and how you go about covering that. So yes, there's luck involved, but when the action comes your way, you have to be ready and you have to be prepared to get that photo and have the technical knowledge to make your adjustments if you need to if a player is maybe coming out of the sun into the shadows or vice versa. Um, I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
The second part was, what does it take to win like an award like this? Like some of the photography awards out there, what does it take to win an award like this?
Um, well, it's you have to have a great photo. I mean, you have to have a storytelling photo that really embodies what the NFL is and why so many people love the NFL. So, as a photographer, we are telling stories and we are giving a glimpse into a sport that happens so fast, and as a photographer you're freezing that moment and you're letting the viewer kind of sit and dwell on a moment that happens in a split second, and that moment is usually sometimes the defining moment of the game, especially when we're talking about action. If we're talking about feature, then it's can either tell the story of how fans are impacted by the game of football or the NFL, and or even just how the NFL impacts the players, because a lot looking at some of the photos that are kind of cycling on the screen behind you, they're showing the focus of the players, they're showing the excitement of the fans and the preparation of the players to get ready for the football game. So really being able to take a photo and tell that story is it has to bring an emotional response from the viewers. So
Well, thank you, Gabriel. I'll make sure our door's just open. You can hear the noise in the background. So thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, students. And Jake, I'll send it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate you giving us a live look into the museum. And Gabe, we talked ahead of time, kind of playing this out, and I knew that was going to be what we were going to the museum today. And, we had asked you if you could prepare some stuff to actually showcase some of the photos you've taken and talk through a little bit. You don't have to go too far in details, but some of the things you were looking for when you took those photos. So if you don't mind, if you could share your screen and we can talk through a few of these photos and showcase to all of our students who are tuned in today, just actually what you were thinking and going through your head when you were taking these pictures. So we'll let you get that ready and
sure.
go. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and share your screen and talk through two or three and kind of tell us what was going through your mind and what were you looking for when you were taking these images.
Sure. Everything look good?
I can see it. Yep. Go
All right,
ahead when you're ready.
perfect.
Yeah.
So this photo was taken in 2009 in my intern season. I think we were playing the Dallas Cowboys at home, and I think the Broncos were driving towards the end zone. I'm sitting in the back of the end zone, and I look behind me and I see this family where the dad is absolutely screaming his head off, and the son is sitting in front of him praying, and right next to him, I think his daughter is just completely screaming. She's cropped out of this frame, but and it was just something that I saw, turned around, you know, I shoot with three cameras, so turned around with a wide angle lens and took a photo of this, and didn't really think anything of it until I got the email for the Pro Football Hall of Fame photo contest and submitted it and ended up winning a uh, honorable mention, which I'm still a college student at this time, and it was pretty big deal to me. And it was a big deal to my boss, who was Eric Baki, the former team photographer, and he sent it out to a lot of the people within the organization, and I think they turned it into a billboard here in Denver and stuff like that. So it was something that I just noticed and turned around. I was ready because I had all of the correct lenses on me to turn around and get a nice photo of it. So that was something that helped guide my career, because after that they continued to use me as a freelancer after my internship was over, and gained a lot more experience. And at the time I was still pretty new to shooting football, but got a lot more experience, and was able to kind of grow my just professional career. What's another really good one with a good story here? Um, let's see here. I'm gonna take a dip away from football for just a second. So oh, that's wrong photo. Sorry. There we go. Um, so I covered the X Games summer and winter for, I think it was about 10 years, if not maybe a little bit more. And it was something that was just a ton of fun, because it was something where I grew up riding BMX bikes and skateboarding with friends. So that was the sport that I was into as a kid. So to be able to go and cover X Games was something absolutely incredible for me. And just like with anything with photography, it takes a lot of patience to kind of be at the right place at the right time, and you also have to just keep your ears open for what's happening around you. For this photo, I was, just shooting uh, the skaters out there warming up on the street course, and I heard one of them talking about a hammock. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. So, after their session was over, like they set up this hammock, and they're like, "Oh, this is going to be great." And like, I'm not talking to them. I'm just taking photos and see what they're doing. And they're like, "Oh, they're going to like set up a hammock and put a guy in there and do some sort of trick over him." So um, was there, put myself at the right place at the right time, and stuck around a little bit later than I normally would have for a practice session for a cool photo. So um,
Yeah, let's
I
let's
think
look at let's look at one more.
yeah, one more. You know what? I want to talk about high school football,
All right, we love
because
that here in Northeast Ohio, that's for sure.
um, high school. I don't even know if this probably isn't my favorite photo, but this is just a good example of um, shooting high school football has taught me how to cover football, not just covering the NFL, but high school football is something that is open to everyone to, kind of get a chance to go out and take pictures of football and meaningful football. And covering high school is sometimes a lot easier than covering the NFL, because you're allowed to kind of go wherever you want. If you make friends with the coach, then you can even go into the locker room and make some great photos. But covering high school football, especially you get to like the state level, the players are just as excited, if not more excited, than some NFL players, because they're doing it for the love of football and not necessarily for the paycheck. Not saying that NFL players do it just for the paycheck, because they don't. They all love it as well. But on a level like this, is just it's there's something raw about covering high school football, and you have the access, and it happens almost every single Friday night on a uh, fall semester, and gaining access is not that hard. You can just kind of show up and just tell the coach that, hey, I'll give you these photos, and you get some really valuable experience, and you get to experience the weather. You get to experience the terrible lights or the great lighting, depending on what stadium you're at or what time of day it is. So, yeah, as shooting high school football is one of my favorite things to do outside of shooting NFL. So,
Awesome. Well, Gabe, thanks for sharing those. So you can stop your screen share, and we'll dive into everything here. And I think it's cool, before we send it over to Nathan for some student questions. You showed us three photos. You showed us a photo of high school football and explained, hey, if you want to get your foot in the door, here's a great opportunity to do it. You explained your photo you submitted to the photo contest. You were an intern. You were doing kind of that, climbing that ladder, to hopefully reach a full-time position one day. And then you talk about doing the X Games kind of outside of what you normally did on your day-to-day basis, and freelancing and taking advantage of the opportunities that you can. And while we were just looking at photos and kind of learning about what went in them. I was hearing, hey, this is a guy who took advantage of opportunities that were presented in front of him to grow his career, no matter what the level is. So I think that's a great thing that our students can take away from that little piece right there. So Nathan, I'm going to toss it to you. Nathan Martin here is the Youth Education Leadership Coordinator. I know he's got a bunch of student questions, so we're going to get through as many as we can here before we wrap up. So Nathan, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Awesome, Jake and Gabe. This has been great information, not only for myself, Jake, Jerry, but all the students that are watching. They've been pretty active in the chat. So thank you, students. Continue to send in questions. We're going to really just depend on you guys, I think, for the majority of the program here now. And first student we're going to go to is Ivy. She's a student up at the University of Michigan, and she wants to hear a little bit more. Gabe, can you talk about just networking? Obviously, networking as, someone who's going to take photos, a photographer, but just in general, what would be good advice that you would give the students about networking and kind of marketing themselves to potential jobs and employers?
Okay. I would say the number one thing that I've learned about networking as a photographer is not only being a good photographer, because you have to be able to deliver good photos and all of that, but try to be someone that everyone wants to work with. Have a positive attitude and show up early, do work hard, but also be fun to be around. Don't be a jerk. Like it's easy to get caught up and sometimes I forget how special my job is. And every once in a while I have to remind myself that I have a pretty cool job. And just to you know, uh, talk to people and yeah, be fun to be around, really.
Yeah, I like how you just kind of condensed that. Like, yeah, obviously you got to have the skills. Like that's
Yeah,
necessary if you're going to get any type of job in any profession. You got to have a certain skill set. But like, what can really separate you is just you're that type of person. You have that personality that people gravitate towards. They enjoy spending time with. Not necessarily that you have to be some extrovert that's off the walls all the time, but
right.
just you've got a personality that's easy to work with and fun to be around. And a lot of the things you mentioned are controllable. You control
Yeah,
showing up early.
definitely.
You control, the work ethic that you put. You control your own attitude. So that's something the students can really take comfort in, that you control those things. Uh,
Definitely.
Another question here. I really like this, and this is from. Let me make sure I get the right student here. Um, this is from University of Central Missouri, Courtney, at the University of Central Missouri. Can you describe just the company culture that you've experienced there in Denver? How have they supported your growth, your development? Why has that been important for you throughout your career, and maybe something that other students should look for when they're looking for potential employers?
I think company culture here at the Broncos, um, there's been a lot of changes in my time here. So,
Mhm,
kind of looking back, I was an intern in 2009 and worked for the former team photographer.
mhm,
And, you know, at that time, the Broncos were it felt like a small kind of family run business, which it really was. And then over the years, we've with each coaching change, um, you get a different kind of culture coming in to the building, and you have different expectations of not only how you act, how you dress, what kind of photos are expected, but just you can feel the difference as you're in the building. You just from coach to coach on how they run things and just how people are in the building. Um, Recently, our team was bought in was that 2022 by the Walton Penner Group,
yeah.
and with that, came a drastic culture change as well. And looking back, I was definitely a little nervous that not sure how things would change and how the different culture would be with a new ownership group in here. But they've come in, they took their time to kind of get to know everyone, to kind of see how everything is run and see how whose roles do what. And I think it's been absolutely incredible with the new ownership change because they have come in and listened to people and then given us resources where maybe we didn't have resources before to, like elevate certain parts of the organization that maybe I wouldn't say that certain parts were neglected, but just maybe that weren't paid enough attention to. So, they've threw hundreds of of dollars into the stadium renovations, and they're currently building a new practice facility, which my office will be changing here in about 2 years. So not only that, but just giving us the resources to do the best possible job that we can now.
Yeah, and I think you touched on a lot of different things because you've been there for quite some time now in Denver, and kind of seeing the ebbs and flows. And I think that really just opens my eyes. It opens the students' eyes to what maybe you could expect, as you're looking for different jobs. Has that current leadership or that ownership group been there for a long time? And I think that's encouraging for the student. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions like that when you're looking for jobs. Ask about culture, ask about the leadership, ask the hiring managers, what do people say about the people they work with, and those are good questions for students to know going into any type of employment opportunity that they might
Yeah,
have.
if you're in an interview, that's the chance for the company to get to know you, but also for you to get to know the company. You may realize something in an interview that you're like, maybe this company isn't the right place for me. So, yeah, that open dialogue definitely makes a difference.
So I'm going to ask you a more technical question. This is coming from a
Sure.
student. I'm not somebody that takes phones aside from my iPhone, so I'm not the person to be able to handle this type of stuff. But maybe you can dive in. Some of our students might be interested in some of the more technical aspects.
Sure.
This is from Oliver, a student at SMU, Southern Methodist University. What type of settings do you find yourself using most often on your cameras? Taking pictures during the night versus day games. What does that look like? I know you mentioned earlier you carry at least 3 cameras with you. Like, I was like, oh, I just figured you had one camera and switch the lens. Like, can you talk about some of those technical aspects of just covering a game, an NFL game?
Um, yeah. So during a game, I have 3 cameras on me, usually a long lens, a medium lens, and a wide angle. So my long lens is a 400 millimeter 2.8, actually sitting right here. The guy. Um, and then medium lens is usually like a 70 to 200. And then my wide angle is either 15 to 35 or 24 to 70, or something along those lines. Um, as far as settings, stopping the action, my shutter speed is rarely below 1/1600th of a second, because you have to be fast enough to stop the action. Obviously there are changes to that if I want to do a slower shutter speed, and I will make these conscious decisions on what my settings are to affect how my photo is going to look. And that goes from everything from my shutter speed to my aperture to which lens I'm choosing to use, to all sorts of different ways of just changing my settings to change the look of the photo and to get the look that I'm going for. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at times I felt like you were speaking a different language. I know you weren't, but as someone who doesn't live in that
yeah,
world, I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And then I was like, oh, I kind of have an idea what shutter speed is, but no. Hopefully, our students got a lot of appreciation for that. But I'm not, like I said,
yeah.
some technical aspect with that. But I think this is a good question here. If there is a student that's into this, they're locked in, they're loving everything you're saying. As someone that they're seeking out this type of career, maybe it's their dream to be an NFL photographer. What's the best way for a student, to highlight their skill set, to highlight their portfolio, what they've done already, to potential employers? What's the best way that you would advise a student to do that in that space?
Um, just being active on Instagram is one easy way of doing that. You always want to put your best work out there. I have a old professor who used to say you're only good as your last photo. So you have to keep up and keep making good photos and making things different and showing growth. But yeah, as far as getting your photos out there, having a professional website is very important too. Even though I've definitely gotten work off of Instagram, but I've also gotten work off of my website. I've gotten work mostly out of off word of mouth as well. So and that goes back to being someone that people want to work with. Yeah, it's put your best foot forward always. Be very, very critical of the work that you're putting out there. Be very critical of the work that you're making and figuring out if a photo isn't working for you, then what's not working with it, and figure out a way to make those changes.
I think that's great advice and something that it takes work, but I mean, anyone can utilize Instagram. Like, it's not that hard to start a website. It's just, if you really want to be in this field, it's something that you can do. It's something anybody can kind of start to work towards with those resources that are available to all of us. This is a unique question we got from a student. This is Tyler. What were the most influential academic experiences that you had that prepared you for the work that you get to do now vocationally?
Um, I took photojournalism classes. That was my uh, major. I actually went to school twice for photography, once for art photography and once for photojournalism. After I finished art photography, I didn't really know how to get a job or to make money. After I went to school for photojournalism, it taught me a lot more about marketing myself and, getting internships. Um, you know, Internships are probably the best way to get work. It's unfortunate that sometimes you have to do an unpaid internship, and that can be really difficult for some students. When I was in school, I worked full time and uh, did an internship at the same time while going to school. So that was my entire life from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, and sometimes didn't go to bed. So yeah, uh, just getting professional experience as much as possible is probably the most important part, and using your time at school to uh, make connections and get internships and really learn the craft of whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, well, I think all this has been great. I want to encourage the students, if we didn't get to your question, that's okay. Gabe's LinkedIn page, we put the link there in the comments. Go ahead and click on that. Connect with him on LinkedIn. Go to his website, his Instagram page, all that good stuff. Just, start building that network, start connecting, having those genuine conversations. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any questions we didn't get to today. But I do have one more question I want to ask. And this is just me being selfish because I'm the person that's doing the questions right now. I want to ask this question. Um, Gabe, you talked about photos telling a story earlier, and that kind of like
Yeah.
piqued my interest. I thought that was something I never really thought about. So like, how do you know this is going to tell a story? Like, how's it not just a random picture of a guy tackling somebody or, a guy catching a pat? Like, how's a photo telling me a story? What are you looking for in those moments?
Sometimes it has to do with who's in the photo. Maybe when we got Peyton Manning, he was coming off of a season where he didn't play football at all and had some major surgery on his neck. So
Mm-hmm.
then, him taking the field for that first time is a big deal because, he's kind and no one was sure that he would be able to, come back and be able to play really good football. Um, you know, Paying attention to how people are reacting to certain things, whether it's players or fans or anyone else. Um, it's I don't know. I think my time working in newspapers has really kind of
Mm-hmm.
taught me how to read a situation and see, walk into a room and you can kind of tell who is maybe going to give you a great reaction or Also, just doing your research on, you know, things that are happening either in the building or at an event that you're going to. So, just being aware of, like if um, let's say Bo Nix is, he gets one more touchdown and he gets the most touchdowns of a rookie or something like that.
Yeah.
Just being aware of the situations that are happening on the field and what records may be either close to being beaten or stuff like that. Just really paying attention to storylines throughout. Another thing is, when you're taking a photo, sometimes the storytelling photos are the photos that are a little bit wider, that give the viewer a little bit more information about what's going on. Um, you know, Sometimes those can tell a little bit more stories, whether it's an action photo and you can see that, the wide receiver's feet are in bounds as they catch the ball, or instead of just being focused on the upper body of them catching the ball or something like that. So, yeah, there's so many different ways of trying to tell a story, but a lot of it just comes to, just being aware of your situation and being aware of what's kind of happening around you.
So you actually made me think of another question. You mentioned Peyton Manning. I got to ask, do the players ever hit you up and say, hey, can I have photos of me?
That's part of my job is getting player photos to players. We use a program within our archive that once I upload a photo and as long as everything is tagged in the metadata, it goes directly to the players if they signed up for it. So it used to be that they would hit me up after a game and be like, "Hey, can I get some photos?" And I would have to send out, like 10 to 15 separate emails filled with
Yeah.
photos of players, but now it's kind of automated, which makes it a lot easier. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's cool that you're able to do that for the players, but also the storytelling component. That makes a lot of sense, and it really makes me look at photos in a different way. So thank you for all you do. Thanks for being on the program with us today. On behalf of myself and the students, we're super appreciative of your time, Gabe. We're going to send it back to Jake to kind of wrap some things up here on Before the Snap.
thanks a lot, Nathan.
Yes, thanks, Nathan. Thanks to all of our students. Those were great questions. I love this part there about the end about internships and storytelling and photos. I need to get that system where you can just get pictures out without having to send emails. That's awesome. Got a couple things to wrap up here before we finish. Got some rapid fire questions for you, Gabe, and then we got one
Sure.
final question to end the program. So, are you ready for your rapid fire?
Yeah.
All right, number one, LinkedIn. Great way to network or just another social media app?
Eh, I'm not very active on LinkedIn. To me, it's just another social media app, but I think it does have its value. So
All right, number two, GPA on a resume. Leave it on, keep it off.
only if it's 4.0.
Social media accounts, public or private?
Uh, some public, some private, depending on I definitely have some more personal stuff as well as having my professional stuff out there.
Jeans at work, all day, every day, never, or just casual Fridays.
I'm wearing jeans today.
All right, coin toss, heads or tails?
Tails.
You score a touchdown, go to touchdown celebration.
No celebration. Give the ball back and run back to the sideline.
Act like you've been there before. I like it. All right,
Yeah.
final question. If you could compare your job to a flavor of ice cream, what flavor of ice cream would that be?
Something dairy free. I'm lactose intolerant.
That's that's a great answer. Thanks for those, Gabe. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Final question here. We talked a lot about some good advice for our students today, but if the students can only walk away with kind of one thing on their mind, what's that one item, that one key piece of information you want our students to leave with today?
Um, Look at good photos and try and figure out how they made them. I mean, that's how I learned to do most of the stuff I did is just by uh, paying attention to what other photographers are doing and maybe copying some style now and then, but making it my own.
Awesome. Well, with that, we're going to wrap up this installment, episode 99 of Before the Snap, today featuring Gabe Christus, a team photographer with the Denver Broncos. Gabe, again, thank you so much for being a part of the program today, giving time out of your busy schedule to sit down with us and all of the students who tuned in today to talk all about your career.
Thanks a lot, Jake.
Before we leave today, as always, make sure you're liking, following, subscribing, whatever it might be, to all of our social media channels here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We are getting closer and closer and closer to naming our new class of 2025 as we go through the NFL season. So make sure you stay tuned to that. All the new artifacts we have come rolling in here to the Pro Football Hall of Fame from the NFL season. Make sure you're following and looking at all that. Also, give a follow to the Broncos. You might see some photos taken by our special guest here today. So be on the lookout for that. Our next program is going to be on November 14th. Got a couple weeks off here, and I misspoke last time. This is episode 99. Next episode is going to be episode 100, and we thought what better way to celebrate episode 100 than to have our own president and CEO of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Mr. Jim Porter, as our special guest. So you're going to get all insights to all things Hall of Fame for episode 100 of Before the Snap. So to all of our audience today who tuned in, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we hope to see you